Hi, I'm Chris. Thank you for joining me again. Feeling so much better after getting the first video out the way. I think I got my nerves settled a little bit, sort of getting that out. Done the introduction, so I thought for this video I wanted to do a bit more about the actual training that I do. So, as I mentioned in my first one, I train 6 days a week. It's split between sort of 3 quality sessions and 3 easy/recovery sessions. So general week structure is Monday will be a recovery run. Tuesday tends to be a interval session focused on sort of more threshold speed and increasing time. So for instance, this week I did 3 lots of 15 minutes at 6 minute 50 per mile pace. Wednesdays are recovery runs again, so it can be anything from sort of 5.5 to 7 miles, running about 8:30 to 9 minute pace, trying to keep it really as easy as possible to properly let myself absorb the quality work. Thursday kind of alternates. It's more of a speed support session, so I look at some more VO2 maxis, so faster, shorter intervals. So things like 2 minutes at as close to 6 minute miles as I can get, with 1.5 minute recovery in between, but sort of 8 reps. That varies depending on the days, because obviously when I'm running at those, that's kind of my top end of my speed at the moment, because I want to try and ensure that I can actually get all 8 reps done rather than just burning myself out on the first couple. Those are really tough runs, they are. I find them very mentally challenging as well as physically challenging, which I think is part of the enjoyment of running. Fridays is another easy run day to obviously absorb all of that work. Saturdays are rest days, so I don't do any exercise exclusively on Saturdays. I do cycle, I still walk a lot anyway. I do that on very regularly anyway. I have a lot of steps per day outside of the running. And then Sundays is my long run day. Those tend to be structured depending on what the week really demands. It can be just kind of an aerobic run, so 8 to 8:30 for 13 to 15 miles, or I do some things like I'll do 6 to 8 miles at a slower pace, and then 4 miles at sort of low 7 minute paces, and then back up for the last mile. Or sometimes I'll do blocks in between, or sometimes I can just go for kind of a solid finish. So if I do 10 miles at 8 to 8.5 minutes, and then do the last 3 to 5 miles closer to 7 minutes per mile, or 7:30, depending again on the day. I'm very much governed by conditions, I think, more than anything, and brain state. I think it's very important to not negate that, because it's a key component in running. Looking at it particularly from a therapist lens, I think it's so easy to get caught up in the I must do this, I must do that, I must achieve this, I must achieve that. And I think it's quite destructive towards training, because you can easily go out and push yourself far too hard on days where you shouldn't be pushing yourself as hard, because some days just turning up is enough. If your body can't take the extra punishment, I think for me it's better to do something rather than nothing. I'd rather have a slightly held back run than miss a run, personally. Adapting to all the situations is important. I mean, as you can see on screen at the moment, I even take my son out running with me occasionally, and he really enjoys that, but it's a completely different challenge on me running with him. Yeah, I found my intervals this week were very much in this sort of ballpark. Psychologically speaking, I think only doing 3 intervals in my head seemed very simple, but realistically 15-minute intervals put me at doing just over 2 miles per interval, and maintaining kind of the sub 7 minute pace given my current threshold, lactate threshold, really kind of emphasised how mentally difficult it was for me this time. So by sort of the middle of lap 2, when my watch pinged to tell me that I'd completed a mile of that lap, it's like I've got to keep going for another mile plus a little bit more. And it's like, I don't understand. I can't do it. I don't understand how I can hang on for this long. I'm absolutely shredded. I'm feeling really, really fatigued now. Very, very hot gusts of wind to play in, even though the loop that I use is in one of my local parks. It's basically round a football pitch. I think it clocks in at about a quarter of a mile, or just over a quarter of a mile for the full loop. But it's got a slight climb at one point, and for some unbeknown reason, it always seems to happen that I get the headwind immediately after the climb, and it doesn't seem to matter which direction the wind is actually coming from at any point when I'm running there. As soon as I start the loop, that's always the case. So the only thing I can think it must be the trees or something that are redirecting this wind, or the wind just hates me and it picks on me specifically and wants to make me struggle even more. But we still knuckle down, get on with it. We still dig in. We keep going round and round and round. And yeah, whilst I'm doing these loops, all of a sudden it's mentally very, very beaten, seemingly out of nowhere. But as you can see from these, all three were in quite close proximity of each other. Yes, I did fade as it went on, but it was extremely hot. But it was nowhere near as bad as it was in my head. Yeah, so I think that really highlights for me how much you need almost mental fortitude to be able to train like this, as well as physical. And I think they both come with time. And I think sometimes just telling that negative part of yourself that's saying you can't do it to shush for a minute and see what happens tends to be the way that I go about it. And it's like, well, I've done it many, many times before, and I'm going to do it many, many times again, albeit faster, because that's the obviously part of the improvement is we want to keep working, we want to keep building. And it's putting in that small steps, putting in that slow build up, building the base engine so you can then get to the point where you can actually go quicker. Because I think for me at the minute, the gap between where I am, even though I ran a 1:32:21 half marathon, going to a 6-minute 50-mile pace seems like a really big step. And I think is going out of that 7-minute mile pace is a huge step. And I think it's strange because you can feel so inadequate, particularly when you're seeing so many people on YouTube. And I watch some absolutely phenomenal runners on YouTube. I watch some great channels, and I get a lot of inspiration from all of them. But I think it's so unintentionally disheartening when they're talking about, I went out for an easy run and I was running at like 6-minute 10 pace rather than my close to 5-minute race pace. And it's just, I'm never going to be that good. But then I just think to myself, well, there was a time where I was running 9:30, feeling accomplished, feeling really strong, really powerful, and really, I'm a runner. And now I think I'd struggle to run at that pace. And I think it's such a matter of perspective, but it's one of those things where I think, as cliche as it is, you are literally running your own race. You're not competing against any other person. You're not racing against any other people. I think you're just racing to be a better version of you, or a better runner version of you. Because obviously this isn't intrinsic to your self-worth. Running is just an aspect of what I do. I enjoy it. It's a good hobby for me. I find it very, very good for my mental headspace. And I'm also slightly addicted to trainers as well, but that's for another video. So yeah, I think I'll probably wrap it up around here. This was just another little one I wanted to drop on while I've got the topic. I think potentially my next video, I think, is going to be around trainers and what sort of gear I tend to like. And then I think we'll see what it shapes into. So thanks for joining me.